on a sunny, beautiful Thursday afternoon. Welcome, everybody. We moved to the new time last week, and I hope that you are with me now. If you haven't subscribed to the Bullpen yet, well, what have you been doing? Where have you been? Let's go. Get with the program here, people. We got a ton to talk about today. Hopefully, people are with us. We got a lot of Browns free agency to get to. There are plenty of subjects. Now I'm hearing myself. That's probably bad. I should shut that off. All right. So when you look at what the Browns have done in free agency, and by the way, the question I'm going to ask you, and if you want to jump in with me, I'm going to tweet you the link. I'm going to tweet you the link in here in a moment, or ask the guys. You'll see Max and Brian Monzo and Max Gotro in the chat. They could help you if you want to join me live. But the question I have for all of you to answer either in the chat room or to answer live with me or to answer, I guess, on Twitter if you want, but I'd rather you keep it here. What move by the Browns besides the trade? Now, we've talked a ton about the trade. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy is the biggest addition the Browns have made this year so far, or this as the offseason started officially this week. But besides that, of all the guys they've signed in free agency, and technically the Browns have signed 12 guys in free agency. They have re-signed Zadarius Smith, Mo Hurst, Michael Dunn, Shelby Harris, Corey Bojorquez, 5 re-signings, and they have signed 7 free agents from other teams. Linebacker Jordan Hicks, quarterback Jameis Winston, running back Nyheim Hines, tackle Hakeem Adeniji, tight end fullback Giovanni Ricci, who I never heard of until I saw the tweet that the Browns signed him. Never heard of the guy, so I'm guessing he won't be at the top of the list. And cornerback Tony Brown, who's more of a special teams guy, and defensive lineman Quentin Jefferson, the guy the Browns have most recently signed. And I want to know from you, and you can answer in the chat, or again, jump on with me live. Which to you of all those free agent signings is the most impactful? And when you look at them, the Browns have not signed they've not added any frontier players, any superstars or anything like that. There's not that many superstars, period, that get the free agency. But they've added a lot of good players, including the guys they brought back. And certainly if you want to pick one of the guys they brought back, I mean, if you think Zadarius Smith is the most impactful move they made in free agency, then so be it. I think it's a tough call. I don't know that it's an easy answer, which guy would be the most impactful. I could make an argument for 1, 2, 3, 4. I could make the argument for 5 or 6 different guys. And in the end, it came down to, for me, believe it or not, one of the guys I thought of. And in the end, I can't do it because it's a punter. But Corey Bojorquez is right there. He's right there. I mean, the punter is really, really important. A surprise possibility is Nyheim Hines, who not only is a excellent pass-catching third down back, but will play a big role for the Browns on special teams as a punt returner, a kick returner. Certainly Zadarius Smith, he's the guy that got paid the most money of all of these free agents to return to the Browns on a 2-year deal to play on the opposite end of Myles Garrett. We know the impact that both Shelby Harris and Mo Hurst had in the middle last year. Quentin Jefferson is a big-time defensive tackle pass rusher. I mean, he's a guy who can play on the outside too, but a guy that you can, look to get 5, 6, 7 sacks, maybe even more, who knows, from the inside, which obviously the Browns have not had that the last few years. But in the end, I went with what is probably still the Browns' weakest position group overall, especially in terms of depth, and that's at linebacker. Jordan Hicks, I think, has a chance to be the most impactful player. And again, I think it's very debatable between a number of guys. But I went with Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks is a veteran linebacker, and he reminds me of our old buddy DeQuell Jackson. DeQuell Jackson was a guy who played, the middle of that field, and he made every tackle. Like when you needed to make a play, especially in the running game, or even if the wide receivers got a ball and you need to make that stop, DeQuell Jackson, who is not only a fantastic football player, but a fantastic human being, he was always there. And while I'm not going to say that Jordan Hicks is as good as DeQuell Jackson, and I don't know Jordan Hicks personally to know if he's as good a human as DeQuell Jackson, that would be pretty hard. But he is that same type of player, a guy who just shuts down the run, and he has had over 100 tackles 5 years in a row. He did miss 4 games last year, still had over 100 tackles. The 4 games he missed last year are the only 4 games he's missed in the last 5 seasons. And he brings an edge in the running game that they didn't have at that position. Now, I think we're all a little disappointed that Sione Takitaki is gone, and he was certainly a guy who made plays in the passing game. I guess with Sione Takitaki, if my man Tyvis, if he's listening right now, probably not, he's in the car, but would call him, if you were listening to UCSS, you're going to get the reference today, would call him Sione Takitaki a high-priced hooker. But Jordan Hicks is a big-time run stopper. And to pair him at the linebacker level with JOK, who had a massive breakout season in his 3rd year, could be pretty fun to watch. Jonathan Mann sends a message. Bull, no link to the chat on X. Okay, Jonathan and everybody else out there. My man, Brian Monzo, just tweeted out the link. My bad. I forgot to send it right before the show. But I'm going to retweet. Here we go. I'm going to retweet Brian's tweet. This is the link to join me on the show. We'll do that. Here we go. Me on the show. I'd love to see you join in. So I'm retweeting it right now. The link is attached in the retweet I just sent moments ago. All right, let me get some reaction to people that want to give their answers as to who they think the best possible guy or the most impactful player is that the Browns have signed in free agency. What do we got so far? Let's see. Devin, hello. Monzi, Bull, you be cranked up. Damn right, Monzi. I be cranked up every week, man. I'm ready to go. Let's go. Hit the like button, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Joel had to turn down the volume for the intro. Joel, if you've been listening to me back in my radio days, you have to know. When I come on at 2 o'clock, that's what I do. I yell like a lunatic. AF, let's go at him. Let's get the word out of the bullpen. Best sports personality in the land. I can't disagree with you there, AF. By the way, first complete shave on air. I did it this morning. I mean, I didn't shave on the air. It's the first time I've been on air with a full, complete shave, probably 6 months. All right, Devin tweets, Jordan Hicks is the most impactful guy. That was my choice. That's Devin's choice as well. So excited to see his run-stopping abilities. Yeah, I'm pumped for that. Monzi also going with Hicks. Hicks is the best because he can groom a young linebacker room and a linebacker from the draft for the next 2 seasons. Yeah, I would think, Monzi, that this is a position at linebacker that I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns drafted 2 guys. Because you look right now, the Browns have I believe, 5 draft picks left after the trade for Jerry Jeudy. I think they have a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th. They don't have a 1st. I don't think they have a 7th. They had 2 5 5ths and 6th, but now they only have 1 each. And so if they stay where they are, or if they end up with the 5 draft picks, I wouldn't be shocked if they drafted 2 linebackers. Defensively, I don't know that you have a roster spot for a DB or a D lineman. I don't know. I mean, the Browns just with the addition today of what's his name? Quentin Richardson? Quentin Jefferson? Why can't I think of his name? With that, Quentin Jefferson, right. With the Quentin Jefferson addition, you now have, I think, 9 guys on the D line that pretty much have locked up spots. The only guy who hasn't really earned that is Ika, who was their third-round pick last year. So they're not going to let him go. He hasn't really gotten a chance yet. In defensive backfield, I mean, you got clearly 4 safeties that are not going anywhere, and you got 4 corners. I guess there's one spot maybe for another corner, but there's really not a lot of open roster spots at either of those spots. So at linebacker, you got plenty of open roster spots because you got JOK and that's it besides Jordan Hicks. Tony Fields is the only other linebacker on the roster that was drafted, not just by the Browns, drafted, period. The rest of their linebackers are all undrafted guys who have not made any impact at this point. So, and Tony Fields was a late pick who hasn't done much. I don't know he's guaranteed to be on the team. So there's a lot of spots on defense at linebacker. And you could possibly see 3 new linebackers on this roster next year. So I think that's a position, potentially running back, definitely wide receiver, definitely offensive line, even though they seem to have a lot now. I would think there's a decent chance both Wills and Conklin are gone after this year. So offensive line is certainly an area they might address too, and tight end is something they could be thinking about in the draft as well. Let's see. David, punter, you going with Bojorquez, which, again, he was one of my final 3. I think Bojorquez does make a major impact. David says, punter, we finally were able to switch the field on a regular basis. You're right. Bojorquez was decent when he first came to the Browns last year. He was, top 10 punter, and it's a big deal. The Browns special teams, in terms of punter, kicker, snapper, about as good as it's been in a long time. Let's see. Michael Schlupp, Jordan and JOK, great combo. Jordan Hicks, right. Mustafa tweets, Bull, will our defense be the same top 2 in the league since the schedule is much tougher? I can't tell you they're going to be top 2. The Browns defense felt a little fraudulent at the end of last year because of the way it ended. They played some bad games on the road, including the playoff game against the Texans where they got absolutely smoked. Are the Browns capable of being a top, we'll say top 5 defense this year? Absolutely. They've got the talent. There's no doubt. The question is, can their superstars, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and if JOK does it again this year, I'm going to add him to that group. I can't believe I'm saying that. 2 years ago, we thought they were going to cut JOK, and now he's coming off just a magnificent year. But he's got to do it for more than 1 year before I put him in the superstar group. Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward have to play great consistently, and both were not as good late in the year. So that's got to change. They've got to be consistently great. The only flaws really with both of those guys has been injuries have led to not as good play late in the season. With all the depth the Browns have, hopefully those guys won't be playing as many snaps. And I know it sounds counterintuitive because you think, well, those are our 2 best players. We want them on the field all the time. No, you want them on the field consistently the whole season and playing at the top of their ability, which in Myles Garrett's case is the best in football, and Denzel Ward's case is one of the best in football. So that's what you want. We need their greatness all season long. And if that means a few less plays each game, so be it. And they have the depth to do it. So, yes, I think the Browns have a good chance, I'll say, to be a top 5 defense this season as they were last season. Joel not tweets, but sends a message. Love to hear it, Bull. Wish I had started listening to you sooner. All right, Joel. I guess you were not a radio listener, but doesn't matter. You listen sooner. I appreciate that you're with me now. I love you, and I love all the support in the chat and everywhere else. Satufu tweets, I'm late, but I'm here. Max. So Max, one of Max and Monzo are the 2 producers for the show. Monzo lives in New Jersey. He lived in New Jersey, and then he moved to Florida for about a week, and then he moved back to New Jersey. It's another story for another day. Max is from New Orleans, and he's congratulating everybody in the chat that the Cavs beat the tar out of the Pelicans, and they did. That was as good a performance as the Cavs have had all year. They smoked the Pelicans. And Valanciunas, who I expected to have a big game because he's usually the type of guy the Cavs struggle with, he didn't do anything. Manuel Rodriguez, Joe Flockers. I thought that was funny. This is a UCSS reference, and submit IQ Quincy as a nickname for Quincy. Now, listen, any nickname we make for Quincy Carrier, who'd been on my podcast, who's on with Earl on the Ultimate 216 show today. Quincy does his own Browns podcast, very big following. I believe he's got like 40,000 subscribers. If I was saying that Quincy needs a nickname because most of us on UCSS have nicknames, and Quincy's been on a lot of the shows, so I said we got to find him a nickname, but he's got to like it. IQ Quincy is a sound. I mean, that's like kind of a cool one, but we got to run it by him. I'll have to text Earl and see if Quincy likes the nickname. All right. Again, your chance to jump in. I just retweeted out the link a few minutes ago. So if you want to come live on air with me, you can do so. Let's see. Are we waiting for somebody tried to jump in yet? Okay, we do. We have our first caller. I say caller in air quotes. We'll bring in Jonathan here in just a moment. He'll be the first person up today. Here's Jonathan. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Bull. Happy Thursday from Bogota, Colombia. Normally, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. But
wait a second. You're in Colombia right now? The country of Colombia.
Yes, sir.
Are you on business? What are you doing?
So I'm a digital nomad. I've been making a plan for like 7 years to move to another country while I work, and Colombia is on my list. So I'm living here for a month. I'm in an area called Chapinero. It's kind of like a hip art community, and I'm just working and living.
So you're trying all these countries to see, and then eventually you're going to decide which one you like the best and move there? Is that the plan?
That's right. That's the plan.
That's pretty cool. I wish I had the ability to do that. I mean, I don't know if I want to live in another country, but I need to experience more countries, at least from a vacation standpoint. So where have you been so far? I'm curious. We'll get back to sports in a minute. What countries have you lived for a month in so far?
Just Colombia so far.
This is the first one
on my list. Yeah, it was the highest on my list. It's probably where I'm going to stay. I think I like it the best just from everything that I've researched. But yeah, I'm going to bounce around South America. I speak Spanish, and I've got a list of ones that I'll check out, but Colombia seems pretty high.
That is cool. Well, good luck. Yeah. What time is it there now? What's the time?
It's an hour behind, so it's 1:18. It's in Central Time.
Okay, so Central Time, right. Okay, very good. Jonathan, I appreciate you calling. Appreciate the support. What can I do for you?
Well, the first thing that I want to say is I think Zadarius Smith is the best signing. And the reason why I think that, although I think Hicks is going to be a tackling machine, and we obviously need that, Zadarius wasn't healthy last year. He was nicked up pretty bad. So I don't think his production matches what his potential is. So I'm erring on upside and saying that Zadarius opposite Myles Garrett with a potentially upgraded D-line, depending on how you look at these signings, might help out.
What's interesting about Zadarius is if you look at traditional statistics, right, the sacks and those things, he didn't really stand out last year. But if you look at the advanced stats on him in terms of pass rush win rate and those things that PFF has or other places, but, I look at PFF or my man Cleve TA has his site. He graded out very well. I think he was 16th amongst pass rushers in the PFF grade. So, yeah, I mean, you ultimately, yes, you want the guy to be able to get to the quarterback. But I think, I don't remember who made this point. It might have been G. Bush on UCSS yesterday that Zadarius he thought part of the reason that Myles had his best season is because Zadarius was on the other side. And that's true. And part of that is they have good chemistry. Obviously, he and Clowney did not have great chemistry, even though Clowney had that really good year his first year here. But we all remember that Clowney kind of took shots at the organization and to some degree Myles Garrett out the door. Whereas Zadarius really, he kind of pushed Myles Garrett, which, some guys would be like, Myles Garrett's a star. I can't push him. But Zadarius Smith had been on a good team. He'd won. I think it was very interesting that he kind of pushed Myles to be better. And it seems like it worked. So if Myles is happy, then I think we're all happy, right?
Completely. Yeah, I think it's the pressure rate. that makes me think about how Smith might actually be improved this year. Yeah, it's not about the sacks. Miles can get the sacks; they can rotate around the sacks. But yeah, I think it's definitely that. I always liken Clowney to kind of Carlos Boozer in the LeBron days. He always wanted to be the man. Maybe he thought he was the man coming into the NFL, and it didn't turn out the way it was for him. And maybe those sour grapes just kind of pissed him off about Garrett, and the truth hurts.
Yeah, that's true. Jonathan, I appreciate the call. Good luck in Colombia. Have fun.
Thanks.
Enjoy the food. I've heard the food is great. Is it great so far?
Delicious. Absolutely.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for checking in. Monzo, if you could take that out. For some reason, I can't figure. I was able to take the calls off the first couple of times we did this, and today I can't figure out how to do it. It's that simple. The link is out there now. If you want to jump in, you can do it. Jump in with me. I like that. I mean, and you don't have to be from Colombia. You could be wherever you are. But it's pretty cool that the first caller of the day is in a different country. Monzi tweets or sends a message in the chat. Clowney hated Joe Woods. Yeah, well, but his comments were organizational when he left, and he took a shot at Myles Garrett. There's no other way around it. Manuel, are you in Colombia too? Because you said we should start a Bogota Browns club. You and Jonathan, I don't know if you're from Colombia as well, but you got two guys if you are. David sends a message. Do you think the Browns would draft Cade Stover if he is there at 54? I keep it real as I always do. I have not done any looking at the draft at this point. Because we've been so focused on trades and free agency that I have not looked like. So I have no idea where Cade Stover is potentially going to be drafted. I don't know if the second round is an area where he makes sense. I'd be a little surprised if the Browns took a tight end in the second round. But I guess anything's possible. Now that free agency is just about, it's so weird because in baseball, we still have great, excellent players. Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, JD Martinez, even guys who are like decent players like Michael Lorenzen and Mike Clevenger. And there's others I'm just not thinking of that are still free agents months after free agency started. We're 4.5 months into baseball free agency, 4 months and change. And in the NFL, I feel like its free agency is over, and it just started 3 days ago. 3 days, 3 hours ago. That's it. But it's, so now that it's mostly over, by next week, certainly, we start turning the page to the draft, and I start looking at all the mock drafts. I don't know enough about college football to give a great opinion on who's better than another guy in terms of the draft. So what I do, instead of being a phony and like some people in this business who pretend they know everything about every draft prospect, is I listen to the guys who actually know, and I get and I share that with you. I think that's the way to go. Joel Ward, live caller, is a great look. Bull. Joel, it's not too late for you, man. We love doing the live callers. You're all welcome to jump in. I tweeted out, I retweeted the link 10, 15 minutes ago. So it's not too late. If you want to jump in, you could be the next one. Karen sends a message. Hi, guys. Love UCSS. Love Adam the Bull. Let's go. All the emojis. Thank you, Karen. Love you too. Gordon says, isn't Hopkins signed? What terms of his deal? So I think some people have been confused by that. Dustin Hopkins is under contract. He was not a free agent. So the Browns didn't have to re-sign him. Now, I believe he's a free agent after this season. But you remember last year, the Browns didn't sign Dustin Hopkins as a free agent. They traded a 7th-round pick to the Chargers, if I remember correctly, for him. And he had 2 years left on his deal, at least 2. And so Dustin Hopkins is under contract. If he has another great year, then you got to think about locking him up because we just saw Jake Elliott get $6 million a year for 4 years from Philadelphia, tying Justin Tucker for the most ever, I believe, for a kicker. All right, next caller up. We're going to go to the line and talk to Corey. And Corey is up with us on the, I was about to say on the fan. Oh, my God. Been 2 years. Corey, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing really good. I've actually listened to you since back in the day with a WFAM. So
Oh, my God. Now you're going way old school there.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, one of my producers, I mentioned Monzo and Max. So Monzo, he and I worked together at WFAN in New York from late 2007 till I left for Cleveland in the summer of 2011, and now we've reconnected on the podcast, which is fun. Now he's a big pain in the ass, but besides that, it's fun connecting with him again. But I appreciate that you've been around for that long, Corey. Thanks for the support. And I see you got a wrestling hat on. Monzo's a big wrestling guy. We were talking about doing some wrestling talk, but I don't know if that's going to come. But you like the AEW better than the WWE?
Yeah, I'm more of an in-ring guy than some of the over-the-top storytelling, even though AEW does that as well. But
okay.
I love wrestling overall.
All right.
Big Indians / Guardians, still getting used to saying that.
Yeah,
but
right.
With the recent news of Garrett Cole being out for, up to possibly 2 months on the good side, do you think this could reopen up talks of them going after a Bieber? Because it sounds like Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery doesn't sound like an option. I was reading this morning.
Yeah.
And what do you think the Guardians can get back in return?
Are you a Guardians fan or are you a Yankees fan?
Oh, no. Guardians fan since Corey Snyder and Tom Candiato.
All right, very good.
Day, so, yeah.
So it's interesting. I thought this offseason there was a chance they would trade Shane Bieber early, like back in November. And then somebody told me that they're not going to trade him because, let's face it, he didn't have a good year last year. Came back at the end and looked better, but he missed most of the season and he didn't pitch well. And now the Guardians are in a tough spot because the reality is he's not going to be here beyond this year. I still think if they got blown away with an offer, they would trade Corey Kluber. But I think Shane Bieber. But I think what we've seen with the Guardians, and I think this is unfortunate because overall, I've been a huge supporter of the Guardians front office. I think if you look at the big picture of the job they've done since Antonetti has been here with Chernoff, overall, they've been very good at their job. I think the last 2 years has been their worst stretch. And I think after they traded Nolan Jones essentially for nothing, they traded away Junior Caminero has become the Rays' top prospect. They traded Will Benson for essentially nothing because they had such a glut of good prospects on their roster that it seems like they've been a little gun shy to make one of those like 4-for-1 trades where you trade a bunch of young guys to get a hitter. And I just wonder if that's affected their ability to make trades here of significance. Now, spinning it to Shane Bieber, like I said, I kind of took Shane Bieber as a trade possibility off my radar. But bringing it up, it's an interesting point. For whatever reason, the Yankees are not interested in Blake Snell, as you said. Jordan Montgomery, there's bad blood there because Montgomery, when the Yankees traded him, the Yankees, I guess somebody with the Yankees, I don't remember who it was, said they didn't trust him in the playoffs, which is a really dumb thing to say. Obviously, they look particularly stupid for that now after he led the way for the Rangers to the World Series. But apparently, he's not interested in playing for the Yankees. Now, money talks. I'm sure if they paid him enough, maybe he'd change his mind. But that doesn't seem likely. I understand the hesitation with Snell because Snell is too volatile, right? He's great or he sucks. There's kind of not a lot in between with him. And even when he's at his best, he's still really a 5-inning pitcher. And obviously, we saw Dylan Cease get traded, which is a guy the Yankees were connected to, and he got traded to the Padres yesterday. So I do believe if the Yankees engage the Guardians in a conversation, that the Guardians would listen. But the Yankees system is not that good, honestly. Everybody's talking about this guy. I think it's Spencer Jones. He's a big outfielder. I think he's like, he's almost not quite Aaron Judge size, but he's like a big dude. And he's like their can't trade prospect. Well, he's like the 90th best prospect in baseball. And I don't see the Yankees ultimately having enough ammunition to trade to get Shane Bieber. Plus, we got news today that Daniel Espino, who was at one time the Guardians' number one pitching prospect, hurt again. The guy's pitched 120 innings the last 4 years, and 90 of them came in 1 year. I think it was 2021, I think, or 22. I can't remember. He's out for the year. Gavin Williams is dealing with a little bit of an elbow issue. They're saying there's nothing serious, but you never want to hear about a young pitcher with an elbow issue. We know that Tristan McKenzie never had surgery last year, so you're holding your breath a little with him. If the Guardians really want to contend this year, and in this division they can, then I absolutely would not trade Bieber unless the offer was so overwhelming that I couldn't say no. And because Bieber wasn't great last year and because the Yankees don't have a great system, this long-winded answer to say no, I think it's unlikely, but certainly the Guardians will listen. But if they trade Shane Bieber, I'll hate that, because to me that feels like giving up on this division. I understand if they were in the American League East or the National League East, but in this division, yeah, the Tigers finished ahead of them, but they're a young team. I don't know the Tigers, Tigers should be decent. Obviously, the Royals are improving. But the Twins were the best team in this division. I think they've gone backwards this offseason. They lost, one of their two best pitchers, Sonny Gray. I would not trade Shane Bieber again unless I just got so overwhelmed. But I don't see that happening. So to answer your question, Corey, I'd say unlikely.
Just one other quick question. I heard you bring up on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show a couple of weeks ago. You surprised that Adam Duvall only got $3 million and that the Guardians didn't? I don't know if they even spoke to him or not, but I know their payroll is basically next to nothing, but $3 million for Duvall would have been a good fit, I would think.
I look at guys like Duvall and Randall Grichuk. Like those guys, I know they're not great players, but they're guys that have a skill set, a power skill set that they could have had for such a little amount of money. It's so frustrating because there's a lot of things to like about this team. Their pitching staff is really good. I love Bo Naylor. I give Josh Naylor's credit. I was never a huge Josh Naylor guy, but I've come around on him. I think Jimenez will bounce back this year. I think Jose will be fine. I love Steven Kwan. But, man, at the moment, and I know there's some potential certainly at shortstop, and maybe Estevan Florial, who they got from the Yankees, will be that answer. He's been great at AAA. But right now, right field, shortstop, and center field feel like three massive holes. And first base, I'm going to count Naylor as a DH, and I know Manzardo is going to be in the big leagues at some point, but he's not going to be to start the season. So it is frustrating, yes, to answer your question, that they didn't ultimately fill any of those holes with a veteran player, even if it's not a great player. That, I appreciate it, Corey. Thanks for making the call. We'll let you go. Great job by Corey. Great job by Jonathan jumping in. It was fun to get two callers today. Let me grab and see if there's any more chats that I got to answer here. Let's see. Chihufu says, I don't know if that's your name or what. I first heard of Adam through the AFL Cleveland Gladiators. That's how you first heard of me? I only did that for 1 year. That was a lot of fun, though. There was 1 year where I filled in for Tony as the Gladiators play-by-play guy because the Monsters had gone on a long playoff run. I did a bunch of games for the Gladiators. That was so much fun, Dustin and I doing that. Really, I love that. Ryan Melky sends a message. Can you comment on why Trevor Bauer has not been signed by an MLB club when it appears he has moved past his off-the-field problems and pitched well in Japan? He has always proven to be a durable guy. Yeah, except when the Guardians needed him in the playoffs and he tore up his finger. Bauer has I guess been vindicated. I haven't followed enough of the court situation here. Now, I'll admit, I got a personal beef with Trevor Bauer. I was the only, when he first got here, I was the only member of the, besides people that work for the Guardians, I was pretty much the only member of the media that knew anything about him. I was really high on him. And the first time I criticized him, the guy went bananas. He blocked me on Twitter. He's very immature. Maybe he's grown up. The things that he is accused of are ugly. Now, he says they were consensual. Some people find what he did, consensual or not, very distasteful. That's up to each individual team. If I were a team, because I keep my personal out of it, I can't stand Trevor Bauer. But if I were a team, I'd consider giving him a shot. I mean, I'd give him no guaranteed money. I'd make him sign a minor league contract. But I'd give him a shot because he probably could still help me. At this point, he's been out of the league so long, I don't know that he can help me, but I would get, as much as I find him distasteful and one of my least likable players that I've ever covered, I leave that out of that. You got to give opinions. You leave your personal out of it. And so I would give him a shot. But I think the fact that nobody has given him a shot yet means it's probably never going to happen. I think he's done. Corey asks, would you draft Snell or Montgomery in fantasy baseball? If so, where? I certainly would. I'm not ready. You know what, Corey? Ask me that question again in another week or two. My draft is actually in 13 days. I'm a little behind in my prep for my fantasy draft, and I spend most of my time on the first 6-8 rounds. And so I'm not up to guys like Snell and Montgomery yet. So I don't have a feel yet for where I would draft them. So, but get back to me next week. By next week, I'll know where I would draft them. And maybe they've signed by then. But I would be a little cautious of both. Because even if those guys signed today, you're going to have to ramp them up. I know they've been working. It's not the same, though. I can't see either of those guys. They're going to miss at least a couple of weeks. And they would have had a weird offseason. Makes me nervous. David, Bull, we've had a lot of big sports voices in Cleveland. I put you in there. I enjoy your show and your opinions. Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate that. So always, when you get this, sometimes you dwell on the small percentage of people that hate you. I've stopped doing that in recent years, and I'm just appreciative of the people that appreciate me, and I'm very appreciative of the support that I get from everybody, especially those of you who are in this room every week and watch everything I do, from the Bullpen to UCSS to the upcoming Ultimate Cleveland Guardian show. So I thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And we ignore the haters, right? All right. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to everybody who watched. Thanks to everybody for listening. Good job by Jonathan and Corey for jumping on with me. It'll be your chance when we do this next week. We're back at 2:00. Thanks to Max and Monzo for producing. We'll see you next time. Where else but right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. Make sure you check out the app. Make sure you check out the website. Bet Rivers is awesome. It's very easy to use. Get in the mix there. Coming up, I got some exciting things that I'll be getting into in terms of parlays and things like that when it comes to baseball. I love picking games, and I'm going to be there for you. More details coming on that soon. We'll see you later. Bye.